Discover the incredible moment a lost mail-order bride found hope when a little girl said, "Will you be my new mom?"
Elena stepped off the bus, her heart racing like a wild stallion. The small rural town stretched before her, painted in hues of dusty brown and vibrant green, offering a promise of new beginnings. At 32, she was a bundle of dreams wrapped in uncertainty, a mail-order bride arriving in America with nothing but hope and the courage she needed to build a life. But the whispers of skepticism swirled around her as she walked through the streets, echoing doubts about her worth and belonging. Each day was a battle against loneliness, each shadow casting doubt onto her fragile spirit. Yet, she held on to purpose, her beacon shining a light when she volunteered at the local community center. There, she found solace working with children whose laughter danced like music in the air. They were scrappy little faces looking for acceptance and warmth. As Elena helped with crafts and organized games, she felt alive, her heart slowly thawing from the lingering chill of her past. On a bright afternoon during an event meant to uplift and inspire local kids, everything changed. The room buzzed with excitement, and laughter filled the air like confetti.
Then, a shy little girl named Mia approached Elena.
With her big, innocent eyes brimming with curiosity, Mia took a tentative step forward.
"Will you be my new mom?" she asked softly.
In that moment, Elena's world dissolved into a sweet haze, and her heart shattered into a million glittering pieces. A longing awakened, vibrant and new, a yearning for family, connection, and belonging. That sweet question broke through Elena's carefully constructed walls, igniting a bond that defied the doubts surrounding her. Yet, the warmth of this connection soon met the cool whispers of prejudice from the townsfolk. Tension hung heavy in the air, like storm clouds ready to burst. While Elena and Mia forged a genuine friendship, the whispers turned to mutters, and judgment seeped like poison through the cracks of the community they lived in.
Elena was determined to prove her worth.
With resilience coursing through her veins, she poured herself into community outreach, using her past struggles to inspire others. But as she faced resistance from those unwilling to embrace change, it felt like swimming against a relentless tide. One day, just when Elena dared to believe that acceptance was blossoming, an incident sent shockwaves through the community. Accusations flew, and Elena found herself standing on the front lines of chaos. The town's beliefs about what made a family were called into question as the turmoil threatened to tear apart the bond she had built with Mia. Frantic whispers filled the air, and Elena's heart raced with frustration and fear.
Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow.
If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos.
And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Elena felt like she was standing at a crossroads, the pressure mounting around her. Would love be strong enough to shatter the barriers of prejudice? Was she destined to build a family in a place that seemed unwilling to accept her? As she fought for what she believed in, the air thickened with uncertainty, leaving her wondering if she could ever truly belong. Just when hope flickered on the horizon, a new challenge emerged, threatening to unravel everything she had fought for. How could she protect her bond with Mia amidst the storm that was brewing? The questions hung heavy, leaving her heart racing with anticipation for what lay ahead. Elena stood outside the community center, her gaze fixed on the dusty road that twisted into the heart of town. The whispers had grown louder, more brazen, and she felt the weight of judgment pressing down on her shoulders like a heavy cloak. It was one thing to feel like an outsider, it was another to be reminded of it at every turn. Mia was her refuge, an anchor in the storm that threatened to engulf her. The little girl's laughter was pure gold, ringed with innocence and hope. But even as they played and shared stories, the shadows loomed. Accusations had started as murmurs, snaking through the town like a creeping vine, threatening to choke the connection they both cherished. "What kind of mother is she?" became the anthem sung by some, wrapping around Elena's heart. Squeezing it tight, determined to stand tall, she decided to meet the town head-on. If they were ever going to see her for who she truly was, a kind-hearted woman wanting to share love, it would take more than silence. It was time to fight for her place, to show them that family wasn't defined by blood but by love and commitment. The next community meeting was publicized as a chance for healing and dialogue. Elena knew the risks, she could feel her heart pounding like a drum inside her chest.
With Mia's tiny hand in hers, she approached the podium, the eyes of the townsfolk heavy upon her. They glimmered with suspicion, but across the room, she caught a glimpse of Mia's encouraging nod. It was enough to fuel her.
Good evening, everyone.
I stand before you not just as a newcomer but as a person who has found a home in this town, she began, her voice steady despite the tremor of nerves. I came here seeking a family, a place to belong, and through Mia, I have started to find that. As she spoke, the tension in the room morphed, it was palpable. Some shifted uncomfortably in their seats, while others merely stared, skepticism etched on their faces. But Elena pressed on, sharing fragments of her past, the struggles she had endured, and the dreams she held for the future. She spoke of resilience, compassion, and the unbreakable bond she shared with Mia. With every word, she felt herself shedding layers of doubt, exposing her heart to the very people she hoped would understand her, and then the unexpected happened. A woman from the back stood up, tears in her eyes.
I lost my husband last year. I thought I'd never find joy again.
But watching you with Mia, it reminds me that love has no barriers. Other voices chimed in, slowly at first, then gaining momentum the walls began to break down just as the air thickened with an unexpected sense of community. A loud voice broke through the warm connections being forged.
She's not her real mother. How can we allow this?
The tension snapped back like a rubber band, and Elena felt the burning heat of shame wash over her. Before she could react, Mia stepped forward.
That's not true.
She shouted with childlike conviction.
Elena loves me. She is my mom, and that's all that matters.
The room fell silent, her tiny voice pierced through the doubt like sunlight breaking through dark clouds.
In that raw moment of courage, Elena's heart swelled with pride and love.
But it was also filled with fear at what kind of future they may face together.
How could she protect Mia from a town divided?
The new dawn of acceptance felt tantalizingly close, yet it danced just beyond their grasp. The storm wasn't over. In the silence that followed, Elena's heart pounded with new urgency. She knew the battle had just begun.
Would love and courage win the day, or would the fears of the past shackle them once more?
The question lingered, heavy in the air as she looked into Mia's trusting eyes, ready to fight for their right to belong.
What would it take for the town to finally accept them?
Elena's heart raced, but she held her ground, searching the crowd for any sign of support. She felt the warmth of Mia's hand in hers, grounding her. The room was thick with tension, and she could sense the divide between those who were beginning to soften and those still hardened by their prejudices.
Please, she said, her voice breaking slightly, I'm not here to steal any roles. I'm just trying to be a good mother.
The words hung in the air, and all eyes turned to the man who had spoken against her. Bill, the town's unofficial spokesperson for tradition, stood at the back, his arms crossed and brow furrowed.
You think showing up here and tossing around words about love is enough?
Love doesn't rewrite the rules of family.
Elena felt a flicker of anger rise within her. But that's exactly the point. Love is the only rule that matters.
My past may not be perfect, but I'm doing my best to provide Mia with a loving home.
Isn't that all we want for our children?
The silence stretched, almost too long, until someone shifted in the front row.
An older man, gray-haired with kind blue eyes, broke the stillness. I remember when we had newcomers in this town before.
They were treated like outcasts.
I know what it's like to feel different.
His voice was steady, resonating with a sense of familiarity.
Many of us have family histories we might not be proud of. I support you, Elena. Everyone deserves a chance. She couldn't believe what she was hearing.
Hope hung in the air like rare sunlight breaking through storm clouds. But there was still so much work to do. One voice wasn't enough to change minds. Mia squeezed Elena's hand tighter, her small fingers showing nothing but confidence.
We're a family. Just like everyone else. We can make it through the hard stuff together. The innocence in her words ignited something in the room.
Gradually, more voices began to rise, quiet at first, then growing stronger.
She's right, another woman murmured. What matters is love. Elena turned, heart swelling as she saw the first cracks in the walls built by doubt. Could this be true? Did they have a chance to connect? But Bill wasn't done. You can't just change tradition with your feelings, Elena. There are rules for a reason.
She straightened her back, ready to snap back with everything she had. But before she could respond, a soft voice piped up from the corner.
They're not just feelings, Bill. They're real.
I'm a single dad, and I know what it takes to love your child no matter what the world thinks. The room stirred, eyes turning to the young man, Nathan, who had struggled alone since losing his wife. Elena's heart lifted.
It's true, she added.
Love can be fierce and messy, but it doesn't know boundaries.
Can we try to see past our assumptions? Bill's face darkened. You think it's that simple?
No, she replied earnestly, but we can start by listening, really listening. We can work together to build a community of acceptance and love if we try.
The energy shifted, murmurs intermingling with hesitation and respect.
Every glance exchanged held a story, wrapped in fear, misunderstanding, but also hope. As familiar faces turned toward her, questioning but open, she could feel her own resolve solidifying. With hope surging in her chest, Elena stood tall and felt a wave of possibility wash over her. But uncertainty lingered, a bitter reminder of what was still at stake.
What would happen when they returned home, when judgment awaited them again on that dirt road? What shadows would follow them, and would the love they had built together be strong enough to face them?
As murmurs of agreement swirled through the crowd, the stage was set for change, but the storm clouds still loomed in the distance.
Could this brave moment of connection withstand the trials ahead?
Elena felt a wave of relief wash over her as more voices joined in support, but her heart remained heavy. She knew these moments could be fleeting. The initial stirrings of agreement were promising, but the question looming in the air, the what-ifs and maybes, threatened to overshadow her hope. She scanned the crowd, searching for the warmth she had felt only moments ago, but Bill's voice cut sharply through her thoughts.
Is this truly the direction we want for our community?
Bill asked, his tone dripping with skepticism.
For every value tradition, there could be just a little chaos. What comes next? Are we going to change the very essence of who we are?
Traditions change, Bill, the older man interjected again. They evolve to accommodate love and family.
If we cling too tightly, we might strangle the very values we think we're protecting. Elena's breath caught in her throat.
It was like watching a slow ripple turn into waves, a movement of people, of hearts, shifting together. She squeezed Mia's hand, taking a moment to absorb everything around her. But there was still fear, still a few skeptical eyes calculating the outcomes, determined to resist. Her pulse quickened once more as she realized that they had a long road ahead. Let me ask you this, she said, trying to keep her voice steady despite the uncertainty bubbling beneath the surface.
If love is chaotic, isn't that better than living in fear?
We might not have it all figured out, but looking at our children, we can see what matters most. They deserve better. They deserve a chance to grow surrounded by understanding. A murmur of agreement began again, but Bill would not yield.
And what about the children whose lives you'll disrupt? You're willing to sacrifice one family's stability for your own desires? Elena felt a deep ache in her chest. It's not about sacrifice, it's about cooperation. It's about making room for everyone, accepting that families can look different.
We don't need to disrupt, we can build a community. There was a sudden hush as everyone absorbed her words. The room felt charged, like a storm had rolled in but hadn't yet struck. But then Mia stepped forward, innocence shining brightly in her big brown eyes.
Can we just love each other?
She asked softly, the worry of the moment dissolving into a pure simplicity that wrapped around every heart in the room.
Don't you all want what's best for us? The weight of the question knocked the wind out of everyone.
Bill seemed temporarily frozen, and in that stillness, Elena saw the glimmering light of understanding flickering in the eyes of those around her. Not everyone was convinced, but slowly, some seemed willing to ponder. Mia took a step back, glancing up at her mother with pride shining through her gaze. The surge of courage in her small frame seemed curative.
See?
Hope still hung in the air, but it was beginning to feel fragile. Elena swallowed hard, wondering if they could fully grasp the potential of what Mia had said. I just want us to meet halfway, she urged. To build something strong together. The murmurs swelled again, a swell of agreement mixed with skepticism. Bill finally uncrossed his arms, pondering a slow retreat within his own tightly held beliefs, but something still haunted Elena.
What if they took one step forward only to fall back too?
As the room felt lighter, she glimpsed the faces of those still hesitant, their discomfort palpable.
Let us not just talk about love, Bill declared, because talking won't change what has already been set in stone. Actions speak louder. Elena felt the roots of doubt reignite. How would they act? Would they provide her the opportunity to prove her love was true and steady? Or would they retreat back into their safety nets, leaving her stranded yet again? As the shadows danced across the walls, she knew the next conversation would shape everything. The winds were changing, but what would they bring? Would they cultivate acceptance, or would they drown in fear? Elena held her breath, knowing that what they decide in the coming days could change everything for better or for worse. What path would they choose to take together? Elena fought the tightening in her chest, trying to breathe steady through the anticipation swirling in the room. The crowd murmured, their voices weaving in and out, fluttering like uncertain butterflies.
Faces shifted from nodding in vague agreement to looking away, some folding their arms defensively. It was a mix of courage and fear, woven together in the fabric of their community. This was more than just a debate, it was about identity, belonging, and a future they all shared. She locked eyes with Mia, whose innocent expression was now a fierce determination.
"Mommy, what will we do?"
her daughter whispered, the hope in those big brown eyes too precious to break with uncertainty.
The question struck Elena like an arrow.
She could feel all these grown-ups looking to her for strength, yet at this moment, she felt raw and exposed. "We'll fight for what's right," Elena replied, the words coming out stronger than she felt inside.
"For love. For each other."
Bill's voice sliced through again, reminding her not to get too carried away.
"And if this love leads to more division instead of unity? What will we do when one belief clashes with another? What about the heartaches and disappointments?"
Elena could see where he was coming from, that fear gnawing at the edges of his resolve. She wanted to reassure him that love could be a binding force rather than a rift.
It was all in the delivery, wasn't it?
If they could find a way to share their stories, maybe they could build more than just a bridge. They could build a network of trust.
And what's the alternative?
She countered, stepping forward, feeling the weight of every gaze.
Turning away from each other? Shielding our hearts behind walls?
The crowd fell silent again, the tension palpable. Only the rustling of restless hands could be heard, and for a moment, the collective breath seemed to hang. This was a critical point, and she had to seize it.
"Mia deserves peace," she continued, inspired by the little girl's spirit.
"We can't teach our children to love if we show them only fear.
Aren't we stronger together? Times will change despite our fear, but what memories will we leave them? Memories of division or of love?" A few heads nodded.
The grandmother at the back began to tear up, and Elena's heart swelled at the thought that perhaps they could turn the tide together. Suddenly, a voice piped up from the back. It was an older woman, her years written in every line of her face. "When I was young, I saw my own mother fight for love. People hated her for it. But she always said that love never loses in the end. If we're fighting for love, it'll make us better."
The air thickened with shared memories, a flicker of resonance sparked between them. It wasn't just about Mia or Elena anymore.
It was about everyone who had seen love battle against adversity, and the power that love gave to endure. As whispers of agreement spread, Bill shifted again, though he remained skeptical.
"How about we form a committee? A discussion group to explore these feelings and thoughts, rather than forcing action? We need a tangible plan if we're to truly unite." Elena felt a fresh wave of hope. This was the kind of action they needed, discussion laced with empathy and understanding. It was a way forward, a way to reflect before jumping into the unknown together.
"Then let us do it," she said, her heart pounding, excitement sparking behind her ribcage. "Let us begin the journey together, hand in hand. For our children."
But just as warmth spread through the crowd, the doors swung open once more, and a newcomer arrived, someone who could change everything. Could this unexpected arrival bring the division to a boiling point, or would they be the missing piece to unite the community? Elena barely had time to process the newcomer's presence before the room fell into a hushed silence.
The tall figure framed in the doorway was a man, his silhouette accentuated by the dim lights within the gathering place. He bore an expression of both determination and vulnerability, and an uneasy rustle swept through the crowd. "Sorry to interrupt," he said, his voice steady despite the weight of anxiety in the air. "But I couldn't let this conversation happen without being here."
Elena's heart raced. It was a voice she vaguely recognized, a blend of authority and earnestness.
He stepped further inside, revealing features that spoke of resilience, with deep-set eyes filled with an earnest light.
"Who are you?"
Bill asked, his skepticism creeping into his tone again, but curiosity flickered in the eyes of those around him.
"My name is Adrian," the man replied, glancing at the crowd. "I've been out of touch with this community for too long, and I have something important to share." Bill raised an eyebrow, crossing his arms. "Important? What could that possibly be?"
"Love has many layers," Adrian started, looking straight at Elena now as though sharing a private connection.
"I know firsthand what it's like to be torn away from the people you care about. I've seen both sides of that fear and division you all seem so worried about." Elena held her breath.
His words echoed in her mind, a reflection of her own fears and aspirations. She could hear the crackle of confusion mixing with hope around her. Adrian continued, "I've been on a journey, searching for understanding of love, and what it really means to belong. I discovered the stories of this town, stories of strife and resilience, of love binding people together.
And what I found is larger than any single belief."
A murmur rippled through the crowd.
Elena sensed a flicker of possibility igniting the air again.
She wanted to urge him to speak further, to grasp at the thread of connection he was offering.
"I met someone in my travels," Adrian went on. "Someone who spent years seeking a home, a woman who was a mail-order bride.
She shared her heart with me, stories of hope and love, and I thought of this community.
We all want the same thing at our core, don't we? Acceptance?" Nia tugged at Elena's sleeve, her eyes wide with curiosity. "Mommy, who is he talking about?"
Adrian's gaze softened at the sight of the little girl. "I'm talking about all of us, and how we can learn from one another's battles, even those fought in silence."
Elena felt goosebumps across her arms. Could it be possible that this man not only knew of a story that mirrored their own but could also hold a key to unite them? "What if we invite her here?" Adrian suggested, the room vibrating with energy at his words. "What if we open our hearts to understand her journey and let it inspire us?" "An outsider?"
Bill challenged, the skepticism still lingering.
"Do you really think that would solve anything?"
"Sometimes it takes a stranger to teach us who we are," Adrian replied, determination shining in his voice.
"Maybe we need to experience love from all angles, accept each story as it unfolds." Elena looked around at the faces in the room, seeing the glimmer of interest grow. What if bringing someone from the outside could help break down those walls? "Maybe you're right," she said, standing a little taller. "Maybe letting go of our fears to embrace a shared experience is what we need."
We can invite her to share her story, and in turn, rediscover our own.
The crowd buzzed with hesitant excitement, the tension slowly easing. As the discussion shifted, propelled by hope and new possibilities, Mia spoke up, "Will we really meet her? Can we bring her home?" Just then, a low voice emerged from the crowd, just as Adrian was about to answer. "We have to ask ourselves, are we ready for what she might reveal?" Elena felt that familiar tightness in her chest return. Was their community prepared for a truth that might challenge everything they thought they knew? Her pulse quickened as the room fell quiet once more. What was it that awaited them on this uncertain path? Would love truly conquer their fears, or would it expose deeper divisions they weren't prepared to face?
Elena took a breath as the room seemed to hold its collective tension for just a moment longer. Adrian's suggestion hung in the air, and she watched the shift in the faces around her. Some were hopeful, with eyes brightening at the thought of change.
Others, like Bill, remained unconvinced, their brows furrowed in skepticism. "Who says she'll even want to come here?"
Bill asked, his voice breaking the silence.
"What if she thinks we're just a bunch of nosy neighbors?"
"Then we show her," Adrian said, his determination steadying the rocky foundation of doubt. "We have to put our fears aside and reach out, show her that we want to learn from her journey.
Elena felt a wave of understanding wash over her. She knew the power of connection. The struggle of being an outsider.
It could change us, she said softly, her voice rising above the whispers. She could show us what it means to truly accept one another.
Accept? Bill scoffed.
Maybe we should focus on accepting ourselves first before inviting anyone into our world.
Bill, think about it, Elena countered, her heart racing as she pushed forward. What if her story speaks to our own? What if it gives a voice to all the unspoken fears we have?
A murmur of agreement passed through a few others in the group. Their eyes met hers, and slowly, the consensus grew.
We can be better, she added, her voice thick with emotion, if we allow ourselves to learn. As the crowd buzzed with renewed energy, Mia clutched Elena's hand tightly. Everyone is talking about her, Mommy. I want her to come. I want to hear her story. Elena glanced down at Mia's innocent face, lit with enthusiasm and curiosity. Would the woman see the beauty in this community, or would she only notice the fractures? The tiny girl's belief in the possibility of change sparked hope in Elena's heart. Okay, Adrian broke in, his voice calm yet commanding. Let us decide how we can reach out to her. We need to find a way to connect. The group discussed ideas, each suggestion mingling with excitement and a bit of anxiety too. Elena felt optimism seeping into the cracks of their worries. What if this was the start of something transformative? Just as they settled on a plan to send a letter inviting the woman to share her story, a sudden knock echoed through the room. It startled everyone, freezing the discussion mid-sentence. Elena's stomach twisted. Could it be someone reacting to their gathering? Or possibly, Adrian moved first, sliding the door open. The night air rushed in with an unanticipated chill, and the crowd tightened in eager anticipation filled the space. Standing at the threshold was a woman, her wide eyes reflecting both fear and determination. She stepped inside, her arms instinctively wrapping around herself as if seeking protection from the unknown. Is this where I can find help? She asked, her voice trembling but earnest. Elena's heart surged. This was at a moment that could rewrite their community's story. Adrian took a step forward, his expression softening like the light shining through the door. You're in the right place, he assured her, the warmth of his voice reaching out to the newcomer. With that simple phrase, hope intertwined with fear, opening the door to deeper truths. But as the woman crossed the threshold into their circle, Elena's mind raced. Would this stranger's presence heal their divisions, or would it plunge them into conflict? As the first waves of connection began to ripple through the room, Elena realized they were on the brink of something larger than any of them had anticipated. Would they find unity in their shared struggles or expose the fractures haunting their lives? And as she locked eyes with the newcomer, Elena could almost hear the whisper of fate urging them all forward. What secrets lie in wait behind her story? Elena watched as the woman stepped fully into the room. The initial tension was palpable, almost tangible, as if the air had thickened in anticipation. She was disheveled, wearing a hoodie that looked like it had seen better days. Yet there was an undeniable spark in her eyes, a flicker of hope mingled with fear. Help! The woman repeated, her voice small but steady. Adrian remained near the threshold, compassion radiating from him like warmth from the sun. Yes, we're here to help, he said, gesturing for her to join them. Please, come in. We were just talking about creating a space where stories are shared and voices are heard. Elena felt a rush of gratitude toward Adrian. He was guiding them gently, coaxing the newcomer into their fold like a mother bird encouraging her hatchlings. The room felt alive with possibility. As the woman stepped forward, Elena sensed the crowd's collective breath, hesitant yet hopeful. She caught Mia's wide eyes, innocent and trusting. The little girl's unyielding optimism seemed to permeate the air. Are you a storyteller? Mia asked, her fingers wrapped around a small toy. That question hung there like a lifeline. The stranger's lips quirked slightly as if Mia had touched on something profound buried deep within her. I suppose I could be. Her voice was barely above a whisper, laced with uncertainty. Elena came closer, sensing the unease swirling around the woman. We'd love to hear your story, she said, her words gentle but filled with conviction. You'd be surprised at how much we're all waiting to listen. Bill's skeptical eyes softened slightly,
but the tension still throbbed in his shoulders.
How do we know this isn't just a ruse?
He grumbled, crossing his arms.
Bill,
Adrian warned, frustration edging his voice.
She's not here to cause trouble. Just look at her.
His gaze switched back to the woman, where doubt mingled with quiet desperation.
We all carry stories. Some are heavier than others, but they matter. Silence fell like a soft blanket, inviting reassurance.
The woman's eyes flickered between faces, searching for warmth in this sea of uncertainty.
Elena felt her heart swell with empathy. What is your name? She asked gently.
Lila, the newcomer replied after a long pause. It sounded foreign yet familiar, a name that implied layers of history and experience. As Lila took a hesitant step forward, Elena's mind raced.
What had brought her here? Where was she from?
Deep down, Elena sensed a woman in need of healing, a woman perhaps haunted by her own past.
I've been traveling, Lila admitted, her voice gaining strength as she spoke. I thought I would find safety somewhere. I'm just tired.
Then rest for a moment, Elena urged, stepping closer.
You're safe here.
The tension in the room began to ebb as the group collectively sighed, weighed down by shared humanity.
What if we could show her what we're trying to build here? Adrian suggested. What if her journey could inspire us? A glimmer of hope sparked in Elena's chest.
If Lila could find solace in their little community, perhaps they could find strength in her story too. As Lila took a seat among them, a flicker of trust passed between her and the others.
Elena felt the air shift. This was only the beginning.
They might be able to weave their stories together, forming a tapestry of shared struggles, but just as the atmosphere began to lighten, Mia tugged on Elena's sleeve, wide-eyed and earnest.
What if she tells us something we don't want to hear? Elena swallowed hard, the weight of Mia's question weighing heavily on her heart.
Then we listen, she said, even as the uncertainty knotted in her stomach. Lila pressed her hands together, looking between the faces surrounding her.
What do you want to know? Elena's pulse quickened. Could this moment unlock barriers that had held them back for so long? What truths lay tangled in Lila's journey?
Everything, she breathed, anticipation crackling through the air like static electricity, and as Lila prepared to share her tale, the first thread in the community's unfolding narrative, Elena couldn't help but wonder if they were ready to confront the unspoken truths lying just beneath the surface.
Would they discover unity, or would they uncover divisions too painful to face? Lila took a deep breath, and for a moment, it felt as if the air itself was holding its breath.
Everyone leaned in closer, the weight of their collective curiosity pressing against her like the warm summer sun. In that silence, she felt both vulnerable and alive.
I left home, Lila began, her voice barely above a whisper. I thought I could escape my past.
She glanced at the floor, tracing invisible patterns with her eyes.
I was promised a better life. They said it would be easy. All I had to do was wait, trust, and follow. But I soon learned promises can be empty. Elena's heart ached at the rawness in Lila's words.
She could see the gradual unfurling of Lila's story reflected in the faces around her. A mixture of empathy, confusion, and shared pain.
Mia, unbothered by the heaviness in the room, spoke up curiously, what did you hope for? What was it like? Lila met the girl's innocent eyes and felt a sudden surge of courage. I hoped for love, for a family. I thought traveling here would mean starting over.
But instead, I stumbled into situations that felt like nightmares. Her voice trembled as the shadows of her memories crept over her. Suddenly, Lila paused, looking around at the faces surrounding her. It wasn't just about the journey, it was about the people I met along the way, each leaving a mark on me. Some showed kindness, while others took advantage.
She frowned, and Elena felt the tension in the room rekindle. Where did you go?
Adrian asked softly, his voice a warm ember in the cold reality of her story.
Lila hesitated. California was supposed to be my new beginning, but it turned out to be a maze, overwhelming and lonely.
She closed her eyes for a brief moment, as if to escape the haunting memories. I thought I'd lost my way completely. A murmur went through the group, their empathy palpable. They understood, each of them carrying their own stories of struggle. But I met someone along the way, Lila continued, her tone shifting slightly, curiosity emerging.
A woman named Maria.
She was kind of bit of light in a dark place. She helped me but was also running from her own shadows.
We became friends.
Through her, I learned that hope can be found in the strangest places, that even the smallest acts of kindness can mean everything. Bill, who had remained skeptical, now leaned forward, his eyes glimmering with interest.
And you left her?
Yes, Lila nodded slowly, her voice thick with regret.
Because I wanted to see more, to find something better for myself. But what I discovered, it made me question everything.
I had sacrificed connections for an idea of happiness only to find myself more lost than ever.
Elena felt the room breathe out, a collective exhale as they processed Lila's revelations. It was a moment tinged with hope but also with the weight of hard truths. Mia, undeterred by the emotional gravity, whispered softly, "But if she helped you, then maybe you can help each other again?" Lila's gaze softened as she turned to the little girl. "You're right, Mia. That's the thing about stories, sometimes they bring us back to each other." The words hung in the air like a promise. Lila's journey was not just about fleeing but learning the power of connection and the strength in vulnerability. Yet Elena could feel the lingering questions, the weight of unspoken fears settling back in as they faced the reality of Lila's struggles. "What do we do now?" Bill's voice broke through. "We can't just listen and do nothing." Elena felt a surge of determination fill her chest. "Let us help her find that place again. Let us break the cycle of loneliness together." Lila looked at them, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Are you all really willing to journey with me?"
"Always," Elena affirmed, feeling a firm sense of unity bathe the room in light. But just as the atmosphere began to shift once more, a loud bang echoed from outside, sending everyone's thoughts spiraling into chaos. They all turned, hearts racing, as a shadow moved in the doorway. What would come next? Would they be ready for whatever journey awaited beyond those doors? The shadow at the door stretched like a dark thought, but as the figure stepped forward, it revealed a familiar face, Town Mayor Thompson. His brow was furrowed, and his expression conflicted. He took a deep breath, as though steeling himself for a confrontation. "I've been hearing whispers," he began, his voice steady as he surveyed the room. "Whispers about this meeting, about welcoming an outsider." The words hung thick in the air, curdling the fragile hope that had begun to form around Lila's story. Elena felt her heart drop. "Mr. Thompson," she stepped forward, "we're here to build bridges, not walls. We want to understand each other." The mayor's gaze softened, the struggles of his own past flitting across his features. "But the town is afraid, Elena. Change feels like a threat to many. You know that." "No, it feels like a chance," Elena countered, her voice stronger than she felt. "Change isn't easy. No one is asking for it to happen overnight." She sensed the room stirring, the pulse of uncertainty thrumming in the air. "I know," Thompson replied, his tone mellowing, "but there are those who intertwine their lives in this town, they built traditions. Sometimes, change feels like a betrayal." "Traditions should evolve," Adrian interjected, stepping closer. "It's about making new traditions together, embracing everyone's stories. Everyone has a right to belong." As he spoke those words, Elena caught sight of Mia's face, wide with innocence yet brimming with understanding. Her spirit was a reflection of hope, urging the adults to see past their fears. Thompson's expression shifted, indecision washing over him. "It's complicated," he murmured, glancing around the room. "Many here would disagree. You might stir the pot more than you can handle." Elena felt the heat of anger bubble inside her. Great things have never come without a little discomfort. Are we going to let skepticism hold us back? Or are we going to stand together, united by love? Silence enveloped the room, urging everyone, including the town mayor, to pause and listen. It was Lila who broke the stillness next, her voice real and poignant. "I came here searching for a place where I could feel safe, where I could belong. I never wanted to harm anyone. But isolation feels like suffocation." Her vulnerable honesty wrapped around the group like a warm embrace. Mia took a bold step forward. "We can all learn from each other. Stories make us bigger. Love can be bigger."
Elena was struck by the powerful wisdom behind such simple words. Together, we can build an understanding that's richer and deeper, she said. We can create a community that celebrates each journey. With every shared gaze, the walls of fear began to crack, so fragile in comparison to the strength of the love they all sought. Thompson absorbed it all, his heart clearly wrestling with the emotion of it all. Slowly, he nodded. But it will take time. Action 1T happen right away. With faith and determination, we'll show it can, Elena replied firmly. Let us start by crafting an invitation for Lila, not just to join our community but to help us grow through her story. Lila glanced around the room, seeing faces slowly softening with understanding rather than hostility. "I'd love that," she whispered, feeling the warmth of acceptance radiating through the room. A younger woman near the back stood up, her voice filled with courage. "If we're going to write a new narrative, it needs to start with us facing our insecurities. Listening to Lila's story, really listening, could help us process our own." Heads began nodding, the shift palpable. Elena felt a spark of hope igniting within her chest. "This is the moment of connection," she proclaimed. "Let us lean into the discomfort and create something beautiful." One by one, more community members began to speak, sharing thoughts of that very necessity of the importance of acceptance. "Let us not just create a welcoming letter, let us host an event," Thompson proposed, his voice lifting the atmosphere. "We can call it the Open Heart Gathering, an opportunity for healing and understanding." The room resounded with agreement, excitement flickering to life. Elena felt transformed by the collective energy, a rush she had longed to feel since stepping off that bus so many weeks before. As they discussed ideas, details and plans, Nia tugged at Elena's sleeve again. "Mommy, what if Lila becomes our friend? I want to know her story." Elena knelt beside her, enveloping her in warmth. "I think she already is, sweetheart." She glanced back at Lila, whose face was illuminated with a blossoming sense of belonging. In that room, amidst the hearts beating in unified rhythm, the storm of doubt transformed into a gentle breeze of hope. Acceptance blossomed like spring flowers, fragile yet courageous, daring to reach for the sun. Together, they would navigate the complexities of human connection. They would learn that love, once shared, creates ripples of change that filled the spaces between their stories, linking them in ways they had never dreamed possible. They were no longer alone in their journeys, they were entwined in a community on the brink of transformation, and as the night deepened, laughter replaced the murmurs of confusion, filling the room with relationships built upon trust. This was the moment they all longed for. This was the beginning of a new chapter, the first steps toward a shared and compassionate tomorrow. Now the air was different. It was electric, filled with possibility. And as Elena looked into Mia's sparkling eyes, she saw the future rich with love and laughter, filled with the promise of connection. At that moment, she knew, they would be alright. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories, leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep the momentum going, comment below to share your reactions and feelings about this ending. Every voice matters, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support means everything.